So I'm going to go back to the premenopausal female again briefly to talk about that estrogen dominance issue. And the reason is that there is definitely, as we discussed, there's a big drop in progesterone that we talked about, which is 80% by the time a woman reaches 80 on average. There's also another issue in that estrogen is also it's on the higher side lately, or more recently. So even though it's technically an issue of the balancing between the estrogen and progesterone, it's a state of relative estrogen dominance. However, there is also an issue that we are finding. I do find women in the second half, the luteal phase, that have higher levels of estrogen than even the upper limit of the scale. Why is this happening? So this is also really important to understand. One of the big factors is our environment. We are basically bombarded with things called xenoestrogens. That's spelled XENO estrogens. So these are chemicals in the environment, and these chemicals are simulating estrogen, but they are not real estrogen. They're kind of affecting our body's ability to, manage the balance. So we're getting too much estrogen production. It stimulates our endocrine system to produce too much estrogen, which is not really a good thing because we're not keeping in balance with the progesterone. There's plastics. Plastics have these chemicals, for short, they're called BPA, definitely known to be a xenoestrogen. And there are so many other chemicals and pesticides that also cause a woman's body to overproduce estrogen, to have higher levels of estrogen. So that's important because it's really important for us to go back and look at how we're living, our environment, our lifestyle, our food. It's not always easy to do, but if you can get organic, it's going to be much healthier. You're going to have less pesticide exposure. Definitely, I really advise against any kind of plastic. I don't like plastic bottles because these bottles have been sitting in storehouses for we don't know how long, leaching these chemicals, into our water, and then we're drinking them, and it's completely devastating our endocrine system. So I really highly advise that we stick with glass bottles, or stainless steel. Those are definitely safest. If you have to microwave, do not microwave anything in plastic. Please always get a ceramic bowl or a glass bowl or plate, because once you put a plastic in heat or even in a freezer, you're disrupting those chemicals in the plastic, and again, it's leaching those chemicals into the food or the water. You're going to see a lot of things they're saying, BPA free. It's not so much of a benefit or help anymore. It's just being replaced by another type of a chemical. I believe it's BPC. Don't quote me on that. I'll have to look it up. It's really not any better. We just have to be, vigilant about what we're using in our home and how we're heating our food, how we are freezing our food. So really try to stay away from plastics.